All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh by Yashem, Yahweh Shai by Yashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who rule and teach well, and peace and salutation unto the hopeful elect, the 1/3 of Yasha Allah, upholding the laws, statutes, and commandments to the best of their ability. Peace and salutation. This is the brother Bakwasha, and I want to cover a quick clip I got from this guy. He goes in on Esau and basically how he's terrorizing the whole globe. I don't know much about his belief system, but I like the points in which he makes, and more people are realizing that Esau, the so-called white man, is the root of all the issues of life. And he goes into a couple of quick segments here, and I wanted to just hinge off of those points and pull some precepts, and Lord will, this will be edifying for the elect. It's only a minute long, so I'm going to break it up into a couple of quick clips, and Lord will, you brothers are edified.
What kind of people will wake up in the morning to go and make weapons to kill other people? Are you okay?
Right then and there. Okay. What kind of people will wake up in the morning to make weapons to kill other people? Well, let's bring out the precept. This is Proverbs chapter 4, verse 16. For they sleep not. This is talking about Esau, the so-called white man, except they have done mischief, and their sleep is taken away unless they cause some to fall. So it's in their program to do these things. But that's the reason why the world is in the predicament in which it's in right now. Okay. Because the righteous are not in authority. Okay. The wicked are in authority. And this is why people are mourning, sighing, and crying. Okay. Verse 17, for they eat the bread of wickedness. So they don't go to sleep, and they continue to eat the bread of wickedness from their father, the devil, which is Esau, the so-called white man's right-hand man, okay, which is Satan, okay, adverse to life, adverse to righteousness, adverse to truth. It says, and drink the wine of violence, okay, so they turn it up on bread that's wicked, and then they turn it up on violence or wine, which is violence, okay, and they're psychopaths because they don't go to sleep until someone has fallen to their sword. Okay, let's play it again.
What kind of people will wake up in the morning to go and make weapons to kill other people? Are you okay? You come to Africa, you dig up the whole place and leave mining dumps, poisoning rivers with cyanide, only to bring the gold and put it in a warehouse somewhere here you call a vault. You come to Africa, you animals, only to collect the horns and leaving the meat to rot on the ground. Are you okay?
And you got to ask those questions, because who would do that aside from the damn devil? Okay. Let's bring up why Esau, the so-called white man, has that power. Okay. This is Genesis 27:33. And Esau said unto his father, hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. Verse 39. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth. So yeah, whether it be Africa, whether it be Europe, Asia, right? South America. Okay. Scripture says he neither keepeth at home. Okay. Let's grab that real quick. Okay. This is Habakkuk 2:5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine, that philosophy that he lives by is basically do what thy will. He's not concerned about whether or not animals are dying, whether or not digging up, harvesting gold and leaving a land polluted. is something that he's concerned about. It says, he is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, neither keepeth at home. Okay? Esau, the so-called white man, is from the rocks in Petra, okay, in Russia, okay, the Caucasus Mountains, okay, and he's been loose for a little season, but that little season in which he's been loose from, okay, he's terrorized the whole earth. And this is part of the reason why he's a fugitive and a vagabond, because all of those things are to set him up to be identified as the wicked, okay, that has done all of these things across the earth, okay? Who enlargeth his desire as hell and is as death, okay? So they wake up in the morning, they make weapons, they go out and kill people, okay? They go to other people's lands, they harvest their resources to put it in a vault, okay? To now remarket it as a commercial commodity, right? To where they can leverage that against other people, right? They go kill animals and just put it up in their studies in their homes. It says, and cannot be satisfied, and gathered unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. So this guy's question, which he's talking to an audience of people, essentially trying to wake them up, you know. But Jake is a homeborn slave and has a Stockholm syndrome. But the questions are poignant because that's been accepted all throughout the earth of Esau going to countries and just killing animals for fun. Who does that? That's not a natural behavior. To kill an animal for food, sure, but not for just for sport. Okay, but what does the scripture say? He was a cunning hunter. Okay, and he was given the fatness of the earth. So these are the things in which he's done, and currently still doing. Okay, so this is back in Genesis 27 and 39, and Isaac his father answered and said unto him, behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live. So his power is in his sword, is in his carnal gifts. Okay. But it's also part of the reason why we can identify him as the wicked, which is about to be destroyed by Yahweh Shem Yahushai in accordance with prophecy. Okay. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. Verse 41, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. So these are all indicators of who Esau, the so-called white man, is. And although this guy is, more than likely he's Jake, okay, but, still under the vibration of being African, he still identifies the same things in which 2/3 of our people don't even want to come to terms with, okay? That Esau, the so-called white man, is the devil and the problem and cause of all things that are against righteousness and life here in this world. Okay. This is Proverbs chapter 1 and verse 10. My son, if sinners entice thee, consent thou not. If they say, come with us, let us lay wait for blood. Let us lurk privately for the innocent without cause. Let us swallow them up alive as the grave, and whole as those that go down into the pit. We shall find all precious substance. We shall fill our houses with spoil. That's exactly what he just said. It says, cast in thy lot, Salakia, cast in thy lot among us. Let us all have one purse. Because Esau wants to be a backstabber, but he wants your help to get the purse, and then he'll stab you in the back. You know, just like the opening scene of Dark Knight. You know, the Joker hired all these henchmen and then had them kill each other off. And then ultimately he was the one that left with the purse. That's Esau, the so-called white man. Okay. My son, walk not thou in the way with them. Refrain thy foot from their path, for their feet run to evil and make haste to shed blood. Okay. Let's play that again.
You come to Africa, you dig up the whole place and leave mining dumps.
And it's not just Africa. He did the whole globe like this.
Poisoning rivers with cyanide, only to bring the gold and put it in a warehouse somewhere here you call a vault. You come to Africa, you animals, only to collect the horns and leaving the meat to rot on the ground. Are you okay? And then when they see us putting on skins like this, they want to look like they're conservationists. No, you can't be putting on animal skins, but you're sitting on a leather chair with leather shoes, with a leather belt. Are you okay in your head? With a leather car. What kind of hypocrisy is that?
That's the damn devil. Okay. This is Proverbs, Salakia, this is Psalms chapter 37 and 12. The wicked plotteth against the just and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. Because Esau has power to do this stuff. No one's gonna conservationalist, or I mean, he has his hand on the whole earth, i.e. Job 9 and 24. The earth has been given into the hand of the wicked. So he can go these places. He can tell you what you can't do, but no one can tell him what he can't do. That's hypocrisy. Okay. The wicked plotteth against the just and gnasheth upon him with his teeth. The Lord shall laugh at him, for he seeth that his day is coming. The wicked have drawn out the sword. Once again, this is Esau's way to terrorize and bully the whole earth. It says, and have bent their bow to cast down the poor and needy and to slay such as be of upright conversation. Because ultimately, pursuant to Psalms the 83rd chapter, Esau, the so-called white man, did not want and still does not want us to become a nation, right along with the rest of these other heathen nations. Okay. So they use the sword, whether that be financially, okay, creating debt, okay, in the food, okay, creating poison, right? Or in the employment, right? Making jobs scarce, or the cost of living hyperinflated. Okay. These are all forms of sword. Then ultimately killing Jake straight up, right? In the street, whether it be accidental drowning, right? He covers it up. And then ultimately, he's looking to slay those that have the upright conversation of these holy scriptures, which is the elect. There's a global hunt Esau is performing, okay, through all of these entities, looking to overturn prophecy, which is not going to happen. Okay. Verse 15, it says, their sword shall enter into their own heart, and their bows shall be broken. So even Esau's military defense, okay, it's going to be an overall slaughter. Okay. His sword, his weaponry, him and his missiles, because the Lord's going to make them fight against Yahweh Shem Yahushai. Okay. But all of this is, like I said, just more and more evidence, okay, of what Esau, the so-called white man, is doing. The rest of these other nations are peeping it as well, but now they're becoming more vocal about it. Okay.
come to Africa, you animals, only to collect the horns and leaving the meat to rot on the ground. Are you okay? And then when they see us putting on skins like this, they want to look like they're conservationists. No, you can't be putting on animal skins, but you're sitting on a leather chair with leather shoes, with a leather belt. Are you okay in your head? With a leather car. What kind of hypocrisy is that? You pollute the whole world with carbon. Then you come around and say, please, let's do some green energy. Shut your industries up if you're talking about green energy. You have lied to us for too long. And the honeymoon of lies is over.
So, anyway, I just get a kick out of the way in which he expresses himself. But the points are clear. He's polluted the whole damn earth, man. Okay? And that's why he's about to be taken out of the way. Okay? Let's pull this real quick. This is... because these are just more precepts that provide evidence of who the wicked is and what they will be doing and what are the characteristics. What are some of the attributes, okay, that would still be present for us to identify who the damn wicked is. This is 1 John chapter 3, verse 8. It says, he that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. Well, what was the thing that the devil did from the very beginning? It says, for this purpose, the Son of Yahweh was manifested that he might destroy the works of the devil. Okay. Yahweh's purpose, okay, fulfilling prophecy, okay, is to destroy those that destroy the earth. And that's Esau, the so-called white man, all day. Okay. Because the works of the devil are clearly seen. Okay. They're not upright. Scripture talks about that in Habakkuk, the 2nd chapter. 1 John chapter 3, verse 9. Whosoever is born of Yahweh doeth not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin because he is born of Yahweh. In this, the children of Yahweh are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of Yahweh, neither he that loveth not his brother. For this is the message that ye heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. And this is the point, verse 12. Not as Cain, who was of that wicked one, and slew his brother. Well, let's go back to Genesis real quick. What did Genesis say? Genesis 27 and 41. It says, and Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherein his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob. Wow. So Esau slayed Jacob. And then here in this verse, it says, not as Cain, 1 John chapter 3, verse 12, not as Cain, who was of that wicked one and slew his brother. Huh. So Cain killed Abel. Esau was looking to kill Jacob. See, these are all identifiers through the spirit of who is polluting the whole damn earth and who that wicked one is. Okay. Because there's the wicked one. Okay. Let's grab that real quick with the capital W. Okay. Just like I thought I was going to pull it up. The wicked be revealed, Salakia. But I think there's another precept that goes into that. But this is 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 8. It says, and then shall that wicked be revealed. Okay, that's the capital W right here. Okay. And it's talking about one that is without law, lawless. Okay. And scripture says in John chapter 8 and 44, it says, ye are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do. He was a murderer from the beginning. Wow. Hold on. Murderer from the beginning. Cain and Abel, Esau and Jacob. Right. And then this wicked one, it says, was against the law or without the law. That's what makes them wicked. Right. It says he was a murderer from the beginning and abode not in the truth, because there is no truth in him. Well, where does the truth come from? The law, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh by Shem Yahushai. It says, when he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. Okay. So once again, the lies come from Esau. The wickedness comes from Esau. The killing comes from Esau. The bloodshed comes from Esau, man. I think it's called the process of elimination. Okay. Through the process of elimination, Esau, the so-called white man, is the one that's been guilty. And really through the spirit, but all of these scenarios are leading back to Esau. Okay. List all possible choices and ideas. Teach each choice against the facts. Cross out the choices that don't fit and are wrong. Pick the last remaining choice as the answer. Esau aligns with all of these scenarios because he doesn't have to say who the person is he's talking to, because who has control over the earth, the industries, the factories? Who has the ability to go to another country scot-free and just start killing and mining resources with no restriction, no objection? Okay. So let's wrap up with this. This is 2 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 3. It says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. Okay. Because things like this, being in this hellhole can potentially get under your skin. Okay. But we don't war after the flesh. A lot of these lessons and seeing what Esau, the so-called white man, is doing, the scripture says, the Yahweh Shah said, hey, wait on me until I give you the heathen for a prey. And that's the thing that keeps us from becoming carnal. Now, obviously, we know through the spirit, you go against the devil and, with a carnal sword, you out of there, and that's the reason why we do these lessons. Okay. That's why we're out on the highways and byways. Okay. Because this is our weapon. Okay. 2 Corinthians 10 and 4, for the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through Yahweh to the pulling down of strongholds. And that's what happens. You pull down these strongholds, these concepts, these myths that Esau has created. And now that's through the process of elimination. You realize, for those that are that have eyes to see, all issues, problems, and evil come from Esau, the so-called white man. Okay. So that was all I wanted to cover in the spirit, Lord will. It was edifying for the elect. Once again, call Allah, Yahweh, by Yeshua Yahushai, by Yeshua Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, the bishops, and elders of Great Millstone who teach and rule well, and peace and salutation unto the elect. Until next time, Shalom.
You okay in your head? With a leather car? What kind of hypocrisy is that? You pollute the whole world with carbon. Then you come around and say, please, let's do some green energy. Shut your industries up if you're talking about green energy. You have lied to us for too long. And the
father of lies.
honeymoon of lies is over.
Shalom.